The Treasure of Lima is a legendary buried treasure that was allegedly taken from Lima, Peru, in 1820 and has never been found. It is believed to be worth up to 160 million British pounds, or $208 million in today's money. Spain had controlled Lima since the 16th century, when it defeated the Incas. Over the following centuries, the Roman Catholic Church amassed a vast treasure in Lima. In the early 19th century, Spain began to have difficulties with its colonies due to the wars of independence in South America. Lima was no exception, and in 1820 the city came under severe pressure and eventually had to be evacuated. In 1820, Lima was on the verge of a revolt. As a precautionary measure, the Viceroy of Lima decided to transport the city's fabulous wealth to Mexico for safekeeping. The treasures included precious stones, candlesticks, and 2 life-size solid gold statues of Mary holding the baby Jesus. In total, the treasure was estimated to be between $12 million and $60 million. Captain William Thompson, commander of the Mary Dee, is put in charge of transporting the treasure to Mexico. Thompson and his crew find themselves unable to resist the temptation. They turn pirates, slit the throats of the guards and the priests accompanying her, and throw their bodies overboard. Thompson heads to Cocos Island, off the coast of present-day Costa Rica, where he and his men supposedly buried the treasure. They then decide to split up and hide until the situation calms down, then reunite to divide the loot. However, the Mary Dee was captured and the crew tried for piracy. All but Thompson and his first mate, James Alexander Forbes, were hanged. To save their lives, the two agreed to lead the Spanish to the stolen treasure. They took them all the way to the Cocos Islands and then managed to escape into the jungle. Thompson, the first mate, and the treasure were never seen again, although it is believed that Thompson returned to Newfoundland with the help of a whaling ship. Forbes settled in California and became a successful businessman, but never returned to the island. Since then, hundreds of treasure hunters have traveled to Cocos Island in an attempt to find the Lima treasure, sometimes called the Lima loot or the Cocos Island treasure. One of the most notable was the German August Gisler, who lived on the island from 1889 to 1908. Another was the American gangster Bugsy Siegel, and a third was the New Zealand explorer Frank Worsley. No one has been able to find the treasure. One theory is that the treasure is not buried on the Cocos Islands at all, but on an unknown island off the coast of Central America. The Costa Rican government no longer allows treasure hunting and believes that there is no treasure on that island. Several facts support this legend. In 1855, a New York newspaper published a letter from 1854 from San Francisco, California, telling of a treasure expedition to Cocos Island, based on the confession of a man who had almost died, except that the treasure did not come from Lima, but was allegedly from a Spanish galleon captured in 1816 by pirates and buried on Cocos Island. August Gisler, who lived on Cocos Island from 1889 to 1908, was also unsuccessful in his search for treasure. In over 20 years, he never found more than 6 gold coins despite his diligent search. By 1929, a version of the so-called Lima Cathedral, the Treasure of Lima, was printed in an American newspaper. Another version of the lost Treasure of Lima claims that it was buried in the Tuamotu archipelago, part of French Polynesia. One of the most interesting theories about the Treasure of Lima is the research mysteries. Let's take a look at them step by step. The year is 1820 and Peru is in chaos. Discontent with the Spanish colonial authorities has reached a critical point. the inhabitants of Lima take to the streets, armed with weapons and rage, inspired by the revolutionaries Simon Bolivar and José de San Martín. Amidst the chaos, a secret plan is hatched to smuggle a valuable cargo out of the city. This cargo? One of the greatest treasures in South America. Chests full of gold, silver, precious stones, and relics were loaded onto a ship bound for Mexico. However, the treasure disappeared somewhere along the way and was never seen again. To this day, no one knows where this great South American treasure is. The story of the Lima treasure begins several decades before its disappearance in 1820. From 1805 to 1814, Napoleon Bonaparte waged wars across Europe. His invasion of the Iberian Peninsula in 1807 proved to be a crushing blow to the Spanish monarchy. News of the defeat of the Spanish citizens and the subsequent weakening of Spanish power soon reached the ears of disaffected citizens in South America. Creoles in South America felt ignored. The Spanish restricted who they could trade with, only Spain, and they could not participate politically. Before this, the Spanish viceroyalties had kept everyone under control. But eventually, enough was enough. In 1820, Argentine revolutionary José de San Martín formed the Peruvian Liberation Expedition. He sought to invade and liberate the country from its Spanish oppressors. Upon hearing of San Martín's march on Lima, the Spanish viceroy of Lima panicked. The viceroy compiled a treasure trove from Lima to be sent to Mexico. According to a document in a museum in Caracas, Venezuela, the treasure trove from Lima included one chest containing altar ornaments covered with precious stones totaling up to 1,244 pieces. One chest containing 2 gold reliquaries, with 624 topazes, carnelians, emeralds, and 12 diamonds. One chest containing 3 cast metal reliquaries, with 860 rubies and 19 diamonds. One chest containing 4,000 doubloons, 124 swords, 5,000 crowns of Mexican gold, 64 daggers, 120 shoulder straps and 28 round shields. One chest containing 8 caskets of cedar wood and silver, with 3,840 worked stones and 4,265 unworked stones. 7 chests with 22 candlesticks in gold and silver. Not 2, but 1 2-meter statue of the Virgin Mary in solid gold with the baby Jesus, decorated with 1,684 jewels. Today, the treasure would be worth approximately $1 billion. The viceroy thought it a good idea to hire an English captain to transport the haul, since the English had no connections with the revolutionaries. He chose Captain William Thompson, a famous English captain of the ship Mary Dee. The viceroy sent a military guard and a company of Catholic priests to escort the treasure. Unfortunately, Thompson did not behave very honorably, although the viceroy paid him generously. Thompson is said to have asked his crew, "We can work as we please for the rest of our lives, boys, and we can't all produce for ourselves as much wealth as is in one of those big chests. The men who hired us to carry this cargo for them are thieves. They stole all that gold. Let's take it from them and use it for good. What is the will of the crew?" The answer seemed to be decisive. Thompson threw the military and priests overboard and they set a new course for Cocos Island off the coast of Costa Rica. Cocos Island is called Treasure Island for a reason. In the 19th century, it was a haven for pirates and a popular place to hide their loot. The waters around the island are rough, and the terrain is rugged and jagged. In later years, the island became so famous among treasure hunters that the Costa Rican government had to ban treasure hunting activities entirely in 1994 to protect the ecologically significant environment there. Although visitors are allowed, only about 1,000 people are allowed in per year. Thompson buried the treasure on Cocos Island for safekeeping, but the authorities soon captured the mutineers. The Spanish hanged the entire crew except for Thompson and his first mate, James Forbes. The authorities let them live so they could reveal the location of the treasure. However, the inept handling of the case led to Thompson and Forbes fleeing into the jungle. The former eventually boarded a ship bound for Canada, while the latter made it to California. Thompson died without returning to the island, while Forbes built a comfortable life in California, passing on stories of the treasure to his family. Forbes wrote down details of its location and contents, which he passed on to his son. But attempts to find it proved fruitless. In 1840, Thompson revealed the location of the treasure to a man named John Keating, a sailor with whom he had become close. Keating visited Cocos Island and found some trinkets possibly related to the Lima treasure, such as gold coins and jewelry. But most of the treasure was still missing. German treasure hunter August Gisler became obsessed with finding the Lima treasure. Gisler was so dedicated that he moved to the island from 1889 to 1908. His main goal was a 2-meter-tall golden statue of the Virgin Mary with the baby Jesus, laden with precious stones. The Costa Rican government granted Gisler the post of governor and permission to establish a German colony. The colony failed, as did his search. He dug an extensive network of tunnels under the island, but his excavations led nowhere. In 1908, he left Cocos for New York, completely devastated. One of Forbes' descendants attempted to find the treasure using information passed down through the family. An article in the Bakersfield, California newspaper dated January 19, 1949, states that James Forbes had undertaken 5 expeditions to Cocos Island. At the time of the article's publication, his last expedition included a 50-man crew and Hollywood film equipment. Forbes found some potential clues, such as numerous pieces of canvas believed to be sails from the ill-fated English merchant ship Mary Dee, but his expeditions were ultimately unsuccessful. Although the Costa Rican government banned treasure hunting in the 1990s, one man convinced them to give it a try. After a grueling 18 months of meetings and negotiations, Sean Whitehead was granted short-term permission to explore the island. Whitehead has an incredibly rich resume, from designing Mars rovers to exploring the depths of Egyptian tombs. In 2012, he embarked on a 10-day expedition using radar, 3D mapping, and aerial imagery from helicopters. But despite all the technology, Whitehead's search proved fruitless. Some notable historical figures have also attempted to find the treasure. Errol Flynn, gangster Bugsy Siegel, and Franklin Roosevelt all investigated the mystery. In total, 300 expeditions have been made to the island. All of them failed to find the Lima treasure. It's possible that the stories of treasure on Cocos Island were a tactic to mislead naval authorities and throw off the pirate trail. Still, the presence of coins on the island suggests some pirate activity. If the Costa Rican government ever allows longer expeditions, the hunters might find something valuable. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the Golden Treasure channel. Stay tuned for new updates and give the video a thumbs up in support.